Welcome to the Music Maker's Cookbook, the podcast that helps independent artists cook up recipes for success in the music industry. I'm Sean.
I'm Brandon.
And today we're talking all about stress. Yeah.
Stress happens all the time.
It does.
Yep.
There's stressors all around us, especially in this world we're in, where things need to be handled right now, immediately, on everyone else's schedule, and there's always so much to do, more to do than time in the day.
Yep.
And if you're a musician, which if you're listening to this, I would assume you are very familiar with this, because there's always more promotion you need to do, always more songwriting to do, rehearsal, recording, performance, making sure all your gear is working for your shows, making sure there's always so much to do. And the more your career goes on, if you don't dictate to other people, the amount you need to do only grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. So today we're going to talk a little bit about stress management.
Yeah, this is a really important topic. I mean, just for us as humans in general, but also for you as the creative. You wear a lot of hats when you're a creative, and especially when you're first starting out, you wear a ton of hats. You know, if you're not at a point where you can hire people, then you are doing the job of 8 different people at once, possibly, right? So we need to learn how to manage that the best that we can and still remain as creative as possible, because stress deals a lot with the mental, and it also deals a lot with our physical health as well. So we need to learn how to manage that and turn it into positive creations.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or negative creations, depending on what kind of music you write, right? But not the negative creations as in destruction. That's bad creation.
You want to be able to channel it versus being self-destructive.
Exactly.
Which, you know, to kind of go into this, we have our weekly question, what we say before the beginning of every episode. This week's community question is going to be, what do you do? What's your go-to with handling stress?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments below. And then as we go through these 10 techniques that I've picked up from the book Stress Free for Good, let us know if what you do aligns with any of them. And if you want to implement anything else we talked about today into your stress management system.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Brandon, what's something that you do just to kind of manage your stress?
Yeah, I do a couple different things. First of all, I think writing stuff down is like imperative for me to manage stress, right? Just all the thoughts that are just constantly swirling, right? Even if it's personal stuff, if it's studio stuff, I want to get it written down. And usually it's on my trusty iPad, right? Doesn't cost anything to do, and only takes a little bit of time to brain dump onto a sheet of paper where you can kind of see your actionable steps and the tasks that you need to complete by maybe a certain date. So dates are very important to write down with this, right? And then you start kind of setting a priority for yourself. So you almost kind of work backwards instead of working forward, right? So you need to see everything that you do, and you work back and say, what's the most important here? What do I need to tackle? Or what's the quickest to tackle? Sometimes that's also a great way to do it too. Another technique that I love to use is just going on a walk with my dogs. I absolutely adore my dogs. Yeah. Sean knows that. I talk about them all the time. But it's one of those things where I really enjoy doing. It's one of the highlights in my life that I really enjoy. And actually just getting the exercise too on top of it, it's almost 2 birds with 1 stone.
Exercise is huge.
Exactly. You get to hang out with the dogs, and then you get to get exercise and clear the head a little bit. Even if it's the same things that you're looking at a lot, like our routine walk, it still helps with the mental though, to get out there and actually go and, kind of think about what you need to do and actually take some load off of, the pressures a little bit, Oh,
for sure. The brain and the body are definitely connected.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. And the third one is maybe a little bit more of a toxic way to cope. But I will play video games. I'm a gamer, but very casual gamer. The only reason why I say it's toxic is because a lot of people will lead you to believe that it is, and it can be a slippery slope at some point. So it can lead to toxicity. I don't think it is, because I really try to, keep myself in check with how much I play and how routinely I play. But like I said, it's a slippery slope. So some people will advise against this, but if it's something that you enjoy doing, it's a great way to escape the reality of the world. Yeah. Especially if you have to wait on taking an actionable step, right? But you should have a plan or contingency in place. Like, it shouldn't be something that you replace working on some kind of stress management, habit or something, in the meantime, right? But, it's just a good way to help bring the stress levels down, depending on what game you're playing, of course. But like I said, I'm a very casual gamer, right? Yeah. So I'm not super into the really heavy games. So I can set it and forget it, right? Pick it up, put it down, So that's another third technique that I really like using a lot. And when I can, when the time allows, So those are a couple of mine. What about you, Sean?
So I've got a little bit of a bias, because I have read this book multiple times, because
I haven't read it. Yeah. So I'm totally going in without knowing.
Yeah. So I know I do this I can't remember if I do it because I read the book or if I have done it before the book. But I definitely, when I did read this, I think I read it the first time a year and a half ago. I really, really needed it because just a lot of things were happening. And it was like, man, I need to get on charge of this because it's just affecting my sleep. It's affecting my physical well-being, my mental well-being, and all that kind of stuff. The main thing that I do is exercise. Yeah. Just being able to move. The way I look at it is, whether I'm a runner. So when the weather's nice, so right now I wouldn't run. But when the weather's nice, when I go for a run, your body is physically moving forward. And that connection between mind and body to me is like, if I'm running, my brain is open because I'm not dwelling on the past because the body is moving. So the mind is moving with it. Sure. There's that kind of tie in it for me. So whether it's in the gym lifting weights or if it's running, that kind of progression, that forward movement helps me get out of the past or the things that I'm overwhelmed with or the future things I'm overwhelmed with that lead to the stress. Another one is obviously music. That's a really good one. I've got a playlist of songs that I just absolutely love. The mix, the words, the textural up, the composition, the recording. I got a playlist of these songs that really mean something to me. And when I either get super stressed with work or I get too in the weeds with it and I'm not thinking about music the right way or I'm overwhelmed with things, I'll sit in my studio, turn the volume up and just close my eyes and get lost in the sound of it. One, it helps reduce stress, and two, it reminds me why I'm doing it. When you turn anything into a career and it becomes work, even if you love it, it's work. So it can be easy sometimes to forget and lose why focus, you're doing it. Exactly. So allowing me to mentally reset, not only does what I listen to help deal with the stress, but then getting back to the mindset of, okay, I'm ready to get back to work. I'm appreciative of it. I'm grateful for all this because, I love it. That's kind of the two things that I do. That's awesome. That's awesome. I can definitely resonate, especially with the music one. You know, that one definitely grounds you. And like, it's like if you ever have a bad mix or something and like there's something in the mix that just doesn't go right. And it can be a plethora of things, or it could be one thing and it's just not going well. It can be really easy and demotivating, to be like, wow, maybe I do suck at this shit. And then you just sit back, you listen to the song, your favorite music or whatever, and you're like, no, I'm just overthinking it. Right. Like, it's like, they didn't do anything that much different than what I'm already doing in what I'm doing. Right. If you follow that and that makes sense, because it regrounds you, it gives you a fresh perspective on it. It's like, no. It was just one thing in here that didn't work. And you try to find what that thing is. And sometimes it's one of those things where you don't get the track back, it's like, sometimes you don't get a chance to redo it, sometimes you just gotta let it go and be what it is. So I resonate with that a lot. That's kind of like how I kind of interpreted what you said, know? So 100%, dude. No, for sure. And, that goes directly to one of the things we're talking about, which, speaking of which, let's just dive right into it. Let's do it. Once again, let us know what you kind of do. And then
could always use new stress management techniques. Exactly. Always.
Here's a quick pause to remind you that if you're enjoying the insights of today's episode, please click subscribe or follow us so that you're always in the loop as to what's happening at the Music Makers Cookbook.
And if you're loving what we're cooking up, a rating or review helps us reach more independent artists just like you. Thank you for listening to Music Makers Cookbook.
Now back to the show. So once again, all these things I got from the book Stress Free for Good. It's got a list of 10 actionable, what they call life skills, or things to do that you can practice to help manage and deal with stress that each have applications depending on what is currently stressing you. And will work with varying degrees depending on where you're at in life. The first thing that he lists is one that I do often that I didn't mention in the intro because I wanted to save it for now. And that is slow breathing, deep, intense breathing with the diaphragm, really letting the air circulate throughout you, because when we are stressed, our heart rate increases. We get into kind of a fight or flight mode. Fight or flight or freeze, I think is technically, there's like a third one. But Blood flow is increased, muscles are tight.
Cortisol hormones released more.
Exactly. Everything is on edge, especially when you're like incredibly stressed. I mean, you know the feeling where when you're so stressed, anything can set you off.
Yes.
It's because your nervous system is preparing for the worst because you're so stressed out about it. It's a survival mechanism.
Yep.
So taking a moment to step back, deep breaths, really concentrate on that. It's kind of like a short form of meditation.
Yeah, it is.
That just causes you physically to release. Not only does the breathing slow you down, what else he talks about at this chapter of the book is while you're deep breathing, when you're done, be aware of your body and focusing on where your muscles are tight, where you are holding the stress, and then focusing on that area, tense those muscles, get them as tight and as tense as you can, and then after a couple seconds, release. Sometimes in order to get a full release on that buildup, that muscle tension, even with deep breathing won't do it, you have to focus on it, cause it to really intense, and then purposefully release it. Because if you're so stressed, if you're just like, man, I gotta relax. If you've been in a situation, which I know I have, it's not easy to do.
No, 100%.
But by focusing on tensing it first, you are bringing awareness to the area, and that focus awareness allows you to then relax.
You almost kind of retake control of your own body at that point, right? Yeah, you are in control, you know, at that point, because stress can, you know, it can get you out of control of your own body and your own, like you said, and your own reactions and the way that you think, right? They can go very deep. And honestly, this one's really underrated and I think underappreciated because, I mean, if you breathe fast enough please don't do this. If you breathe fast enough in real life, you can actually send yourself into respiratory shock. Like you can actually like shock the system so much that it's like, oh my God, I'm hyperventilating now. Like you can do that to yourself, just by yourself, right? So it's like, it's very important to realize how much of breath plays a role in your response and your overall health, you know? Well, I know we mentioned it a lot within music itself. Breathing techniques are very important for singing, right? We like taking breaths out of takes sometimes if they're too breathy, right? But like breathing is very underrated and underappreciated, you know, a lack of a better way to say it, you know, something that we need to focus on more. And personally, I'm kind of speaking to myself because I don't focus on it nearly enough. And it also plays into exercise too. And I know we're jumping a little bit further ahead maybe with this one, but you know, how you focus on your breathing and exercise makes a huge difference with how your body reacts.
Well, there's a reason why there's that whole adage of before you go on stage, take a deep breath.
Yes.
Before you perform, take a deep breath. It resets and allows you to focus on the performance, on the take, in the moment. Because a lot of stress is formed, as we said, it's a fight or flight. If there's external stressors that you're in a scary environment, the body is stressed, you need to react. That's an external stressor versus internal stressors. The body reacts the same way. As you mentioned, the increase in heart rate, like all that kind of stuff, it reacts the same way. And internal stressors are usually caused by the thought process of issues in the future or issues from the past. And how issues in the past or future can or cannot be resolved in the present. If by doing this breathing, it grounds you. And you said takes control of your body, it puts you in the place that you are, which allows you to better control, okay, I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about this. Let me just focus on where I am at the moment and go from there and calm the nerves so that I can really be present when I'm performing, when I'm doing this vocal take, when I'm doing this guitar take, when I'm about to do anything that is of importance that you are bogged down by any sort of stress that you are feeling.
Absolutely.
So breathing is the biggest one. And I said I stated it, but that's honestly the first thing I do whenever I feel like I'm getting stressed.
It's good to know.
I do deep breath and I relax my body.
I'll try to do that next time. Probably later today.
What's stressing you out?
I don't know. Just everything. Everything.
That's actually coming up. But yeah, no.
Yeah, right?
You're right.
Yeah. That's definitely a stressor. Beginning of the year is always very stressful.
It really is.
It's the worst time of the year. I hate it. Hate it so much. People get excited for New Year's. I don't. I dread it. I dread it, man.
All the stuff that comes after it. The future, self-stressor.
Once the first quarter's done, though, man, we're good. We're looking good.
Well,
and we're getting close. Getting close.
Well, exactly. The next step is gratitude.
Ooh, love gratitude.
So
I love gratitude.
Even like, oh man, all this stuff's coming up in the new year. I've got all these things I got to do. What's the gratitude in it? Well, I've got through a year. I've got a whole new year in front of me. I know this next part is going to be rough, but once I get past it, everything's going to be good. I'm grateful for the fact that I have something built that once this period passes, I will be back on my feet.
Right.
Regular acknowledging the good in your life helps alter your mindset towards the things that are happening around you.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really going to dive into it more later, but it's a reframing that helps you subconsciously approach things with more of a positive attitude
Yes.
and more of an actionable approach versus a freeze approach.
Yes. Yes. This one takes a lot of discipline,
Mm-hmm.
so much discipline. And I feel like this one, sometimes you can't experience until you've experienced a really bad situation. So
Yeah.
you can look back on that and be like, how did I feel then? Do I feel that now?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's better than it was then. Right. This one's really important to keep in mind because like things can be worse. They can be. Things can be very bad though. So I do want to say that there's both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
I'm not dismissing your stress or whatever you have to deal with, obviously, but sometimes things can be worse, you know? And this is the point where we're like, okay, we have to be grateful for where we're at, for what we have, and the actions that we can take to try to prevent this or fix this situation that we're in at the moment, right?
Exactly.
So because this one, I feel like this one can be a very slippery slope though, you know, just in terms of how we evaluate our gratitude. And what I mean by that is just by comparing ourselves to others at this point, setting benchmarks, invisible benchmarks for where we should be at maybe versus where somebody else is at or how somebody else is feeling. Where it's like, oh, their situation's worse than mine. Mine's not so bad then. Yours actually might be bad, right? So and you might just still need to take action on it.
Yeah.
This one's very common with finances. Very common.
Well, gratitude, yes, when you're bringing in comparison or looking at the world
Yes.
around you or the hypotheticals of how it could be worse or whatnot, that can lead to
Like
that kind of...
Exactly. That's where it's like kind of a
Yeah.
slippery slope. Yeah.
And that's where I would say potentially you'd be practicing gratitude wrong.
Yes.
If you're doing
I
that.
agree. Yeah, totally agree.
Gratitude isn't saying I've got it better than this, or I've got it, I could be worse than this. It's looking at the moment and finding the positives that exist within it. So if that's something you don't have a lot of experience with, practicing expressing gratitude in a specific way, that acknowledges the good that you have, not in comparison to necessarily others. So like, if you're having a hard time growing your music career, instead of being grateful, like, well, I could have less fans, so I'm grateful for the guys I have. Don't be grateful that I could have less, so I'm happy with what I have. Be grateful that the people you do have are
big framework.
supportive.
Yep.
So like, I might not have a lot, but the fans I do have are committed, or I've been doing this for a long time and I haven't really grown a lot, but I'm grateful for my level of commitment, the fact that I'm able to stick with it. It's an inward gratitude versus an outward comparison gratitude. So I agree. There is potentially a right and wrong way to practice gratitude.
Yes. Because it can be skewed, I feel like, pretty quickly. Yeah. Totally agree.
So it's
totally
definitely a skill that needs to be practiced.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely.
And if you don't practice, if you do practice it wrong at first and it takes you a while to get kind of on the hang of it to really get the full benefits of gratitude, that means you should also practice forgiveness, which is the third life skill.
Great transition, Sean. Great transition.
I do my best. I try.
You do a great job.
Well, as I mentioned, like a lot of internal stressors are from, future or past stressors, grievances or problems that are bogging you down at the moment. If it is like long gone in the past, things that are bogging you down, forgiveness can be one of the best approaches towards it. And I just want to state, I've seen a lot of really awesome things in media tackle proper and improper forgiveness and what it really, really necessarily means. It can be hard to forgive the other person if someone did you wrong, or forgive a circumstance if things happen in a negative way that really did impact you on a deep personal level. Forgiving people or situations that have hurt you isn't doing it for them, it's doing it for you. This is where it gets into like potentially therapy might be necessary, or deep internal reflection to really get the full benefits of this. But once you are actually able to forgive, not necessarily for them, but for you, it really allows a weight to be lifted off, because forgiveness is just letting things go, letting go of the negative in the past. There's a show called Ted Lasso. That's, about an American who goes to England and teaches soccer and whatnot. There's a really good scene where he's talking to his star player, Jamie, who's talking about his past issues with his dad. And he's like, you got to forgive him. And he's like, fuck that, I'm not forgiving him. It's like, well, no, don't forgive him for you. Like, you're not doing him a favor, you're doing you a favor. And that's a really, really good scene that really illustrates that. And it's written, it's a professional writer, so it's more eloquently stated. Than
Sure.
But it just shows it illustrates the importance of doing it in any profession, anything throughout life. There's always things that are probably necessary to be let go.
Yeah.
So that can really be one of, if not the biggest thing to helping reduce stress. If that a large impactful thing in life and past is causing you to be stressed in the moment.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things where it can cause you to be stuck, you know, and not be able to grow past a certain point, or just always carry that burden of having that situation, having that person, having that life lesson always follow you. Where at some point you have to be able to forgive yourself. You know, if you made a mistake, you have to let it go at some point, or you're not gonna be able to grow from there, right? And those mistakes, you know, we humans make a lot of mistakes. I make a lot of mistakes. I don't know about you.
Yes.
Do you make a lot of mistakes? See, we all make
Every
mistakes,
damn
right?
day of my life.
And you have to be able to forgive yourself for those mistakes and take some of them with lessons, right? But some of them sometimes are just so stupid and menial that you have to be able to forgive yourself for doing something.
What's the one saying? A mistake is only a mistake, or a mistake is only a failure the second time. I think that's the quote.
Gotcha.
Like when you make a mistake, it's not a negative, it's not a failure.
Right.
Because everyone makes mistakes and that's how we learn. It
Yep.
is only a true mistake when you make it a second time.
I see.
Because if you didn't learn from it,
Yep.
if you didn't grow from it, that's the mistake.
Beautiful.
And I like that quote a lot.
That's a good quote. That's a really good quote. Yeah. Yeah, that's a nice quote. Yeah, no, I mean, I think you nailed it on the head with this one.
Cool. The fourth life skill, I've kind of hinted at in the first three things, and that is mindful awareness, staying present in the moment. A lot of things, as we say, we deal with our internal stressors, our internal problems that lead to an almost all-encompassing suppression.
Yep.
And once again, as I've said before, it's mainly in the past or future issues that are overwhelming that lead to the stress. Being able to stay in the present rather than dwelling in the past, or rather than over obsessing about the future, allows you to stay in your body, stay in your mind, tackle things one at a time. As you mentioned in the beginning about ways you manage stress, you say you put them in list, so you organize them, and you put all your stressors on paper so you can see them versus like letting it build up in your head. Like, this is what I have to deal with. This is how I need to deal with it. And that takes it from in your mind and puts it in the present and makes you aware of all the things that you have to go on versus just letting it build up in your mind. So this is where that technique, I think, falls under, and it's a really, really useful one.
Yeah, this one is super important. And I mean, all these are important, but this one's really important just for myself sometimes. But like, feel like this is really important for everybody here. And it's like, you have to remain in the present because you can't change. You can try to navigate the future, but you can't see what's coming all the time. And you can only react to what you can react to, right? You can't react to a ghost. I mean, maybe physically you can run out of the house, right? But you can't react to something that's not there or hasn't happened yet.
Yes.
Any situation that you see in the future might not turn out to be that situation. And you can guess a million different scenarios, but even if you tried to guess the scenario, it might be totally different from what you thought or what it's going to be. Same thing with dwelling in the past. You can't change what happened. You can only change how you react later on and how you can learn from that, right? A part of that technique too, with writing stuff down, if there's a big situation, you have to use technology to your advantage these days, right? Sometimes I will take it to ChatGPT and be like, can you explain this situation? Or can you map this out? Or can you help me talk me through this?
Give me an outside perspective.
Exactly. And you prompt engineer it to say, like, don't be biased as much as humanly or AI is possible.
As long as AI is possible.
Exactly. And give me your honest opinion. Don't be biased here. And it'll map it all out. And then you can actually read like, okay, so this might be how it's going to end up, or this is how I can do something different next time. But again, that's really for really big situations, so it's really helpful being able to just visualize that in front of you.
I really like the way you put it of any sort of future stressors. If you're going to change the future, you can't change it in the future. You can only adjust how you're doing it in the moment.
Right.
Only change can happen now.
Right.
In the past, you can't change what has happened. Only thing can be addressed is how you're dealing with it now and how that affects how you move forward. The only change can happen in the now. So that's why being aware of the now is really important, and gives, once you write it down, once you're aware of it, it gives you a sense of control, because that's the moment where you can actually make changes to it. I'm full of sayings today. Another one of my favorite sayings.
Yeah, no, please.
What you're not changing, you're choosing. So if you are bogged down by all this stress of the past and you are not deciding to change your approach to it, then you are choosing that pain.
Okay.
And that's kind of a tough love thing to say. And it's not meant to be that. It's just kind of more like just a blanket statement of everything takes work. If there is not work getting put in, then that's in this moment, it's being chosen to carry that weight.
Yeah.
Or if you're worried about things in the future and you're not changing things to address what could happen, then you're choosing to have to face that down the road.
Yeah.
Whether it's a subconscious or conscious choice, whether it's a big one or a small one, which you're not changing, you're choosing.
Yeah. Because you're almost making the conscious choice of deciding not to act on it or deciding not to tackle that situation. And sometimes that can be beneficial. Sometimes there are so menial things that we kind of talked about with the last point, where it's like, you don't have to put any brain power into it. You can already make the decision, be like, I'm good on this. I'm not going to worry about it anymore. Done.
Well, that's why the list that you mentioned on being aware of it is really helpful, because you can look at the whole list and say like, okay, well, only 3 of these things will actually cause a big negative impact.
Exactly.
There are other 6 things. If I don't tackle them for a month or 2 or 3, I'm not going to be any worse off than I am now.
Yep.
So I can put them outside of my mind at the moment. I can choose to carry that now because it's not something that's actually putting the majority of the stress on me. It's these 3 things, and that's what I choose to prioritize over the rest of the stressors.
Exactly.
So that's a really important thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
5th thing, halfway mark, is positive intention. Kind of mentioned this in gratitude, but it is just framing experiences with optimism. Now, this is a skill that definitely can take a lot of practice to do, especially depending on, whatever your upbringing may be or how you approach situations currently.
Sure.
I've just always been a naturally optimistic person, so this kind of comes naturally to me, but I know that a lot of people are realist or the opposite of optimist.
Pessimist.
And this is a skill that can take a lot of hard work to retrain your brain to reformat things. But once you are there, man, is it a powerful tool in just managing the stress by keeping that positive outlook, having the confidence in yourself that yes, things may be hard, things may be tough, but I'm confident in myself, my abilities, that I'll be able to handle them. And yes, it is tough that, man, I've got all these, just a rough example, like I've got this huge show coming up for this huge venue that I got this opportunity to do for, but 2 members of my band just quit and I don't have anybody and we have to do all this practicing and whatnot. There's a lot of stressor in that and whatnot. But looking at the positive of it, you got the opportunity to showcase your skill at that large environment. And these are problems that you can tackle. You can find people. It's not a problem that you don't have control over. And knowing yourself, if you have confidence in yourself and looking into that optimism of, I know I can handle it. I can find someone to fill in the spot, to make the thing happen, to have a positive show. So instead of fearing upcoming, challenges in your audio career, look forward to that as new things for you to overcome. New things for you to either succeed at and know how to recreate it, or to fail at to have really positive lessons from. It's exciting to have that challenge because the only way we grow is through challenge. And being able to look at it positively, that's a skill.
It's
absolutely. A very hard skill if you don't have it. And even if you do, it's hard to really grow it, but it is such an important one.
Yeah, totally agree. And I used to be, I'm still a little negative now, but I used to be way worse back in the day. And it took a lot of retraining the brain and retraining how I reacted to things, retraining the stress response, right? To even become more optimistic overall and frame things in a way that is more optimistic. And when you do that, the challenges become so much smaller because you can internalize it better. You think about it more clearly. You approach it differently.
Do you mind talking a little bit about how you kind of reframed?
Well, first of all, I had really toxic people in my life. This is probably like 11 years ago now. And that the people you surround yourself with really make a big difference with how you think. And I think not putting all the blame on them, because obviously there's a
you chose to be with them.
Exactly. There's a consequence of that, and there's also there's a responsibility of myself, right, where I had to be able to recognize that, and I didn't for a while until people started telling me, like, bro, what the fuck is wrong with you? Or just saying, or just not being there, right? Like, all my old friends were gone. It was like, oh wow, I lost a lot of people along the way. I wonder why. Like, oh, it's me. I'm the issue, right? And it took a lot of reframing, and obviously help from my girlfriend at the time, who's now my fiance, of just retraining the brain and how you react to things. And it's a very conscious decision you have to be able to make. And you actually have to tell yourself, like, listen, it's not that bad. Stop being negative. Like, it's not, everything's not out to get you. It's not everyone else's fault. Sometimes it is your fault. So is it other people's fault sometimes? Sure, maybe, but you have to react to that in a certain way. And it took me a long time to learn that. And if I don't think I ever learned that skill, I don't think we'd be here right now, right? There would be a whole different path, I'm sure, along the way. But again, I forgave myself for those actions back in the day. Luckily, other people forgave me for those actions too, because that was really big as well. And now all of a sudden, all my friends are back, right? And that, of course, this happened over the course of 10 years, of course, so it was a long rebuild process. But it's amazing how quickly you can dismantle the optimism, because I feel like before I was never as pessimistic as I was in that situation, right? But it's amazing how fast things can crumble and how long it takes to build back up. But I feel like this positive intention one, and correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, but this one is very crucial, just in terms of, this is where a lot of imposter syndrome kind of pops up, I feel, and this is where a lot of self-sabotage can pop up, because like you said, you had the opportunity to do big things. You have to go play a big show, right? Let's say at a big stage at like Freedom Hill over in Sterling Heights, Michigan, right? That's a big stage, and you're an opener. You could either be like, I don't want to do that because I'm scared to play in front of that many people, and self-sabotage your entire career, right? Or you say, I'm not good enough to do that. Imposter syndrome, right? So I feel like those two things kind of play a huge role here, and you have to learn how to manage that within the stress itself. And that is very difficult to do, especially imposter syndrome. Oh man, because going back to our other point with gratitude, that was kind of like a subsection of comparison. Man, you're talking like, now these are starting to really matrix out, and they really overlap. So you have to be very delicate with how you handle each one of these. Yeah.
Well, like you were kind of leading into, this applies to way more than just stress management. It's a rule of thumb that we achieve what we think we deserve. Yeah. So if we look at things as a positive of, no, I put all this work in, I deserve to be on stage here because I earned it. I put that effort in. It's a problem in how I'm going to achieve it, but I know I can achieve it. If we think that we belong in an environment, then that is the environment that we will consciously and subconsciously move towards. Yes. But if you don't think, and these opportunities arise, and you look at it pessimistically or in a negative way, or of like, I'm undeserving of it, you're going to self-sabotage. Yeah. You brought up the word self-sabotage, and that is such a big thing as well, which maybe we'll do an episode on that again later. Yeah, it's actually a good idea. Self-sabotage is I've read books on that as well. I'm actually listening to one on Audible right now. I think it's like Get Out of Your Way or something.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
No, I'll have to write that one down then. Yeah. Because that's a really important one. And that it happens literally all the time. You can, as little as things as making changes in a song while we're recording, to as big as missing out on opportunities because you were late on purpose because you were nervous or something, right? Yeah. They vary widely. And I think that'd be a very beneficial episode for sure. Yeah. Just to recognize the patterns of self-sabotage. Like, I'm sure I do a bunch every day that self-sabotage my whatever, right? You know,
me too, thanks.
What'd you say?
I said, me too, thanks. All the time.
You know, and until you identify those things that are causing harm, you know, you really won't know. So let's do an episode on that.
Gotta get better at that. The sixth one, moving on from that, is acts of kindness. This one is interesting. It's like necessarily a direct, I'm stressed, let me do something good for somebody else, and now my stress will all go away. This is also kind of like the positive self thought process. It's more of a mindset and a personality kind of thing that helps you just passively deal with stress to prevent it from getting to a level of, I'm stressed, I need to deal with it now. That's where like the deep breathing comes from, and positive minds, like gratitude. That's where those things directly come into dealing when it gets bad. This is kind of like the positive mindset, how to keep it at bay and manage stress before it arises to a high level.
Gotcha.
I mean, I'm sure the whole saying, I've heard of it, you've heard of it, the true gift is giving.
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely true.
Yeah.
It's so uplifting to do something positive for somebody else because we're social creatures. That's a whole part of what we do, how we communicate. So doing positive gestures, compassionate acts, helping other people out. Not only does it positively from your mindset and help you look at things more optimistically, but it also helps build a network of people who are then able to turn back around and help you when things go bad.
Exactly.
We did a whole episode early on about a book called The Go-Giver. This and that kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, they kind of hold hands. Yeah.
Yeah. By supporting others, you end up supporting yourself in the immediacy of I did something good by helping somebody and the rewardful feeling you get from that. And in the long term of they have gratitude towards me now. There is a sense of camaraderie here that can then be beneficial in the future if, push comes to shove and it's needed.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, on this one, I think you pretty much summed it up really nicely. All I would say is definitely go listen to that Go Giver podcast episode because that one will really break this one down, I think, to a very, to the book's level, where it's like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. And we kind of talk about the caveats of what happens, when you do this and sometimes the slippery slope that this can bring along sometimes. But overall, like just being kind doesn't really cost a lot at the end of the day, right?
No, it's free.
And it can be as simple as a compliment.
Yep.
Simple as saying hello.
Yep. A genuine compliment goes
a long way. Yeah. Genuine compliment.
Has to be genuine.
We talk about that in that episode. So, yep.
All right. So the next one, which directly ties into the last one again. Yay. It's almost like the guy who wrote this layered this in a specific order that leads from one to the other, which now since we're talking about it, allows us to transition smoothly as well.
Wow. Shout out to him.
shout out to them. The seventh one is social connection, building meaningful relationships to improve well-being.
Yep.
I mean, I can mention before, if you're giving positivity to others, they're going to want to return it your way.
Yep.
And that's how you build a strong community. So if you are networking and doing things with other artists that are genuine, like promoting them when they do things good, positively commenting on their posts or their songs, or incorporating what they're doing in the scene and what you're doing to give them a spotlight and all that, then they're going to want to do the same thing with you. If they have if you've been positively pushing them up and bringing them onto your shows, when they have a big show, they might bring you onto it. And just having that strong social connection when you do have stress and you are overwhelmed, knowing that, hey, there's always people I know, they do have my back. I am overwhelmed. If I have tasks that I'm not the best at, or this other person is as good as me as it, and I help them out, and we've got a good relationship, maybe I'll ask them to take care of it for me, take one thing off my plate, allow me to really focus on other things that are stressing me that I can manage more effectively, or only I can do. But then we mentioned, the more you grow, the more things you have to do. If you have a strong connection, you can start delegating these things and build a support system underneath and around you.
Absolutely. And really, this is really important within the music industry as a whole, because it's all network based, and networking can always be a dirty term. I always mention that when I say networking, but because it's a part of grind culture. As someone, you got to network. Well, what does that mean? It's like, well, you just got to go out and be active in the community and be a decent person, right? Like that's really all it takes, and be genuinely interested in what other people are doing.
And networking's not, here's my business card.
Exactly.
Network is, I'm interested in you as a person. Let's get to know each other.
This isn't a cold call, right? This is like, oh man, I want to be friends with this person. And just yesterday I had a studio session where we brought in a celloist. She was phenomenal, and her and Steve, the guy that's whose song it is, they were discussing about everybody in the community, and there were names there and there. I was like, oh, I know that person, or I don't know that person, and they were just talking so highly of them. That's exactly what happens in the music industry, and that's how people connect with each other. So this one is extremely important. It's very important. It can be stressful managing such a large social network sometimes, so that creates its own stress. But it's a rewarding stress at the end of the day. It can be. You're right. Because sometimes there's the wrong social connection too. So all within your limits and toleration, of course.
And also back to the whole mindset thing. It depends on how you look at it.
Exactly.
Whether it becomes a good or a bad thing. And all connected.
All connected. All connected.
All right, you're for number 8.
Let's do number 8.
All right, number 8 is humor have fun, enjoy it, be playful. Whenever things are overbearing, if you can look at it and laugh at it, one, just on a physical level, laughter improves your mood.
Yeah.
Smiling improves your mood. And we're more likely to do things when we enjoy them, when we're having fun with them. So if you can approach it with a playful, humorous manner, you're going to be way more productive at dealing with the issue. Every episode, I try to say it. I've not been great lately, but if you're not having fun, you're not taking it seriously enough.
Yep.
It's my favorite saying of all time.
Yep.
So if you really are serious about it and you're being stressed about it, make it interesting to you, put a spin on it, laugh at it. Laughing is, once again, another saying, man, too many sayings today. Laughter is the best medicine.
It is.
So if you're stressed, find something you can laugh about, put it on its head, spin it, make it lighthearted, and laugh at it.
Yep.
Take control over it again.
Yep.
It is a physical way of twisting something that is causing a negative interaction with you to a positive interaction with you.
Yeah. This one I feel like I try to overuse sometimes. I mean, I'm not fucking funny, but like
You're fucking hilarious.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. When I get into really stressful situations though, the humor, especially the dark humor, tends to come out and is like a nice comforting warm hand over my heart.
Dark humor's
it's like
great.
everything's gonna be okay. You know, I just said this really dark joke and everything's gonna be fine, right? This one is really important though, you know. Without this, like Sean said, if you're not having fun, you're not taking it seriously. Some of the best music is always made when you're having a blast or you're running around the studio because you just made this beat and whoever just rapped on it did a phenomenal job. And you're just like, wow, this is going to just absolutely, I want to drive going 200 miles an hour on the expressway because I'm so hyped about it. Right. That's where the real magic comes. Don't do that. That's where the real magic comes from. Yeah, please don't do that. But that's where the real magic comes from. You're not sitting down, writing out equations about how to get the best whatever, right? It's so organic and so natural and deals a lot with the social connection, you know, and if you're having fun doing it, you are taking it seriously and you're probably doing a pretty good job with it. Cause if you're having fun with it, I guarantee you others will have fun with it. Guaranteed. That's just the way that music works.
Yep. It's not just about the content. It's about the energy. It's about the vibe. So if there's a positive vibe, that gets passed along. And it's imperative in the creation process, even if it's a negative song that's about, you know, hardship, about struggle, about, you know, the harsh reality of life or certain situations that are depressing. You still want a positive musical creative environment within the studio while you're recording it. So you're not overwhelmed by necessarily the weight of what you're performing, and allows you to then look at it as the art that it is and then be creative with it and the decisions that you make versus being too, like being overly caught up in what it is. Like having that playful experience. That's where dark humor really comes in. You can still bring humor into the darkness to stay creative and stay on top of and stay in control of all these things that are negatively impacting you.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's a fun one.
Yep.
I like that one.
Number 9, moving on, is exercise and movement. This is the one that I do probably the most. We're back at, I'm super stressed or I'm getting stressed. I need to do something now to deal with it. Physically moving, staying active is not only a quick fix, but staying physically fit and having your exercise routine helps manage it in the long term and deal with it immediately. Yep. And there's a reason why, sorry.
No, go ahead.
But there's a reason why when someone says like, man, I'm so overwhelmed, I'm gonna go for a walk.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go clear the mind when you go on like a mile long walk.
You move the body, move the mind.
I feel better now. Yeah. I mean, it's scientifically proven that your brain releases endorphins after you exercise, and during your, while you exercise. And usually the hardest step about exercising is just starting it. And then once you start it, you're pretty much there. You know, you might as well just keep going at that point, right? That's a lot of the mindsets. But, man, it's so important to be able to get out. If you can get outside to do it, that's perfect. If you need to go work out on your treadmill, that's also works out really well, you know, in case you want to like watch something on your phone or while you do it or whatever. I'm just talking about walking, you know. If you're jogging or whatever, more power to you, you know, whatever you want to do. It's just so important to be able to go and have that ability to work out the stress and work off the cortisol, you know, that feels like what you're working off of, you know, and then it helps lower the heart rate after exercise and makes you think a little bit more clearly. And overall, you just feel better and feel like you can approach things in such a different way before, you know, exercising. And I know sometimes like with this one, Again, I'm not a therapist or anything, but maybe sometimes overeating can be like a subset of like a kind of a stress management. And, and
so I think that's
tough. Yeah.
Things like that are more of a, to me personally, are more of a stress, kick the can down the road.
Yes.
Versus a stress management.
I agree with that. And that's what I was going to, it's like, it's more of a harm and doesn't really, I guess not a harm depending on what you're eating a lot of, right? But,
and a short-term boost,
short-term boost, but you don't really change anything that way. Yeah. You're, like you said, kicking the can down the road. The problem is the can, but you always catch up to the problem. It doesn't go anywhere. You want to leave the can behind or save the can, right? Like, or deal with it the best way that you can recycle it.
You want to pick it up and do recycling bin.
Here in Michigan, we have 10-cent recycling. So we want to go to the can return it. Get our 10 cents back. So good for the environment.
Yay, save the planet.
But exactly. You explained that perfectly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, on top of that, like as I mentioned, this is like a long-term overall stress management thing. But even like in the short term, if you find that you get really anxious and full of stress before going on to a performance, doing some stretches, or you see people jumping jacks behind stage before they take the stage, loosening the body, physically limbering yourself up before taking the stage will help allow you to be more interactive with the crowd and be more open to the energy that they're giving you and the energy you're able to put out, versus if you're so stressed and you're tense and you're enclosed, you're not going to be as open and receptive to the audience, and that's just not going to be as good of a performance. So if you find that it stresses you out or you get overwhelmed, or your brain starts going through all these things that could or might happen or things you have to be prepared for, doing some stretches, doing some exercises right before you take stage is another immediate way to handle it in these big, environments where you have to act and you have something you have to do.
Great way to explain it.
So now we're on to the very last one, the 10th one. And that is prayer and spirituality or personal reflection, depending on however you want to tackle it.
Absolutely.
Having some sort of routine where you are either going outward through prayer and spirituality for peace, or looking inward, personal reflection for inner peace. However it is that you find it, being able to reflect and practice that method to help bring you that sense of peace and calm. That is one of the best, if not the best, way of setting yourself up to manage any sort of stressors that may come their way, because you are in the practice of taking it and bringing yourself back to a state, bring yourself back to the moment, back to the body. It's one of the most powerful ways of doing it. So whether it's through, religion or meditation or even just journaling or music itself, personal reflection. A lot of us do it through our music. We sit down and we write our thoughts and we put it into the performance. Being in the practice of doing that and taking it and focusing ourselves into a certain tasks or a certain kind of mindset to help level everything out. Practicing it consistently is, once again, one of the best things you can do for the long-term stress management.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There was one point where I was in a studio session with a couple different people. One person, he believed in God. Another person was more not so a believer, right? And he asked this guy who believed in God, he said, "Why do you believe in that?" And he said, "Well, not only do I believe that there's a higher being, and the one I've chosen, to believe is the higher being, right? Because that's what I believe, obviously. But not only that, but it gives me a sense of being able to put my faith into something that's more than just me. And just to believe that something it's going to be okay, and there's a higher purpose and there's something beyond me out here for me to accomplish, right? Or something like that. Terrible way to summarize it, because that's not exactly what he said, but it was right around the aura of what he said, right?
No, faith is huge.
It's massive. It is so massive to have. So, dude, did you like the way I said massive?
I did.
Massive.
It's huge. If I had a SPL big to make it sound huge, I would put it on that one word.
Oh man, I believe in that for sure. I heard it. I heard that. But it's so powerful being able to put your faith into something, and if you practice this regularly, man, do I feel like it's just so healthy to have that mindset of there's something bigger than me that is going to, everything's going to work out.
That's the key that you said that I really want to latch onto, is like, it's really all this comes back to is the faith that it's all going to work out.
Yes.
It's going to be okay. And you'll never guess it.
Yeah.
I have another quote.
Oh my goodness. This might be an all-time record.
I think it is. And I believe it's a John Lennon quote.
Really?
Yep.
Is it by his eye lock?
That is an inside joke that nobody here will understand, unless Alex is listening to this. But no, it's. I believe the quote is, "Everything works out in the end." So if it's not working out, it's not the end.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yep.
That's great.
And it's that faith that everything will be okay in the end. Everything will work out if you let it. It is. I don't have to be overly stressed about this because I have faith in something beyond.
And that goes beyond everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
That one, I don't mind that one, right? That's nice in a pinch if you need that like constant reminder, but that one finishes nicely. That's like, there's like a topper to that one, you know? Where opposed to the other one, it's just like, oh, everything happens for a reason. Then it's like, okay, well now what? You know, it's like, okay, this is, you left you on a cliffhanger here, you know? This one finishes, that finishes nicely.
I love that quote. I think it's, my girlfriend here, it's one of her favorites.
Yeah, that's a great quote.
Whenever we have like stressful things, we'll bring it up and like, it's not all working out. So it means it's not the end.
Yep.
We got, stuff's gonna work out.
Yeah.
We just got to get through it.
It's so true though. It's so true though. So true.
So
great quote. This might be an all-time record for you with quotes. But I don't hate it. I love it. Actually, this is great.
Actually, if you're listening and you want to comment how many quotes I said this episode, I'm curious to know.
Yeah.
I'm going to edit this, so maybe I'll count it myself, but I probably won't because I'm a lazy son of a bitch. But let me know if you do. And with that being said,
I'd be curious to know.
I would be curious to know as well. I'd also be curious to know where I could go to find an awesome audio engineer to work my music. And I do know the answer, actually. It's from this guy right next to me.
Wow, what a transition.
It was
Sean.
bad.
No, I mean, dude. Well, thank you, Sean.
But I'm going to learn from it. I'm gonna be positive.
There you go.
Make better transitions in the future.
You forgive yourself for it?
No. Not yet.
All right, we're stuck all the way back at the beginning then. No,
I will this afternoon, but right now I'm no.
Okay, fair enough.
Anyways, tell us more about what you do,
Well, thank you, Sean. You can find more about me and what I do at studio222recording.com, which I am finally putting the new website up this week.
Gorgeous.
Yes. I'm finally doing that this week. I have some time on Friday to do it. So I actually have it booked out on my schedule to do it. So we are good to go. You will be able to
listen to this, it'll be out.
It'll be out. Yep. You'll be able to see my new site and everything that I do there. I love working on audio. So if you have anything audio related, I'd love to hear from you just to hear what your project sounds like or what you want to accomplish and see if we're the right fit for each other. So you can find out more about me and what I do there at Studio 222 Recording. I believe you can also find another really great website with another great audio engineer sitting right beside me. And Sean, where can we find more about you?
Yeah. If you reach out to Brandon and you get a talk in and you're not the right fit.
Yeah, exactly.
Try me out.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe you're bound at 50-50, bound to find somebody.
You might as well take the shot. Take the shot.
No, if you contact him, you're gonna no one better to deal with.
No.
Put your music in their hands. But
kind.
If you want some remote mixing, mastering, or if you're in the area and want some recording and you do folk, rock, acoustic, a little bit of blues, hit me up at swsrecordings.com. Those are the genres that I focus on. I also do independent artist development, which is basically this podcast, but more specific towards you and your audio career. So if you want to sit down and talk about struggles you're having at the moment and things you want to do to organize it and get a more of a clear path towards growing your career, hit me up. Love to talk to you about that. Aside from that, if you want more of this podcast, you can find us on any social media platform out there except for X. Not on that, but you can find us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Where our audio podcast is on Spotify, Apple Music, all the other audio platforms out there. And if you would like, definitely recommend following us on YouTube because we post specific shorts there, instructional, educational videos there, and some kind of breakdowns on things that are happening in the industry. It is where our focus is at the moment. So if you want more than just the podcast and maybe more specific info, condensed stuff versus just the conversation that the podcast is, definitely check it out and subscribe.
Absolutely. We'd be greatly appreciated.
I would have so much gratitude. I would be so excited that I would have to calm my breathing down. And I'm not going to go through the whole list.
I'll forgive you for this later.
Later, not now.
But you had some good positive intention, though.
From our kitchen to yours, thank you for listening to this podcast. Please close it out.
With all that being said, try an ADB.
What? No, that's how we end it.
Oh, I thought you said with all that being said at the end.
Yeah.
Bon appetit.
There we go. This man's trying to stress me out.
I had to say try an 80B.
This man's trying to stress me out.
I had to do it. Try or Bon appetit, try an 80B has like the same ring to it.